Gonna get started. I see a couple more people hopped on. I'm gonna enable their microphones in case they want to chat. All right. Well, since undergrad is kind of a new space for me, I wanted to start off with an introduction. Um, my background prior to getting my doctorate was in intercollegiate athletics. I mainly focused in communications. I worked at the University of Evansville in Evansville, Indiana, and then I worked at Stony Brook University on Long Island. Long Island was a very interesting experience. Uh, really enjoyed it out there, actually. Cost of living was a little bit high for working in athletic communications, though. Um, and then also with the hours that entailed, when my wife got pregnant, decided that I wanted to pursue something outside of athletics and got my doctorate at the University of Texas. From Houston originally, so I'm excited about the prospect of the Astros in the playoffs this year. And did my undergraduate at the University of Texas as well, and then ended up going back for my doctorate. My research focus was on sport in the family, specifically with how youth sport at the elite level impacts family functioning. Once I completed that, I was working adjunct at Southern New Hampshire, and then took a job back at the University of Evansville, oddly enough. I never thought I would live in Evansville, Indiana on two separate occasions, but life is very strange and interesting. And so I ended up back there and was an assistant professor of sport management for 3 years, and then got the job offer to work full time at Southern New Hampshire. And so I've been here for almost 2.5 years as the sport management faculty lead. Does anyone have any questions before I go through the PowerPoint presentation? And thanks again for taking time this evening to join us. And you're welcome to interrupt me and talk or type in the chat. I can see that right now. At least I think I can see the chat. Nothing? All right, well, we'll go ahead and go through. This is going to be pretty quick. Definitely don't want to keep you here longer than 30 minutes. So we're going to just kind of go through the Bachelor of Science in Sport program. And if you have any questions, like I said, please either type in the chat or let me know. This is the description. I edited it down just a little bit. You can read it on your own. But it's essentially letting you know that the sport management program, like a lot of programs in the country, we kind of work with the School of Business and kind of provide a good business foundation for our students. So they will take classes outside of sport. They'll take those in accounting, human resources, marketing, and similar courses to that, in addition to just kind of the gen ed requirements that all New Hampshire students have to take. I'm not sure if all of you were aware, but we do have partnerships with Major League Soccer and the Kraft Group. In fact, our university president, Paul LeBlanc, was tweeting that he had a meeting with Major League Soccer and again today, because I believe that partnership is nearing the end of it, and I'm sure we're looking to continue that. I know I've had a few of the athletes in some of my master's courses, and we've had some internships with them, and it's been a good partnership. Same with the Kraft Group. I know we've had a number of interns work with the Patriots. So that's pretty cool and something that you definitely want to let your students know about. Outcomes, we're going to kind of cover the big picture of this and not go through every single bullet point. But hopefully this is something that you can see taking place in your courses on a day in and day out basis. Kind of the big outcomes are theory into practice. So again, you want to make sure that you're connecting the theory that's covered in your courses to the actual field. From my experience teaching sport, that's pretty easy to do. It's nice that there's kind of current event examples on a weekly basis. I'm sure other fields it might be a little bit harder to make those connections with kind of fresh and current events. But with sport, I mean, I think it's something that it's very easy to make those connections and really apply what's happening in current events. And then also, if you work in the field, apply what you're doing in your job. So I think students really appreciate seeing kind of the tangible benefits of what they're learning. Professionalism, this is a big one, especially if you're talking about a business degree and you're talking about business communications. I know that as a faculty member, sometimes I'll get an email from a student that's not very professional and it gets a little bit frustrating. And this is something that I want to see the students practice every day in their communications. And this is something that they need to practice within the courses, whether it's in a discussion, whether it's a question they ask in the general questions board, or whether they're sending you an email. They're all kind of real examples where they can start to work on that and build those communication skills. This is also a great time to bring in social media, just to let them know that they need to be obviously very careful about the image that they portray on social media. The other kind of two big outcomes are global and strategic. I'm sure you've seen these employed in your classes, but obviously sport is extremely global. And it's something where almost no matter what field in this industry students are going into, having that global perspective and understanding potentially the various needs that different individuals might have is very important. And also if you kind of combine the two, thinking strategically, a lot of sport organizations are looking at that global market to increase revenue streams, especially as kind of what's happening with cable is a lot of the professional sports leagues are going to kind of need to find additional revenue streams as people are cutting the cord. Strategic is going to be more so in kind of the upper division courses where students are going to really start to put those pieces together, understand strategic planning, and understand kind of the big picture and how the different functional areas within sport organizations work together. So hopefully you all can see these reflected in your courses. If you have any questions ever, don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. But it's good to know kind of what the overall program outcomes are and see how the courses that you all teach kind of fit into that. Any questions so far? All right. This is kind of some new information. Some of this is pulled from the graduate program review. Some of it's pulled from the undergraduate program review. But two kind of new developments that we have are we've introduced a 4+1 program. So undergraduate students can get their bachelor's and their master's in 5 years. And in order to accomplish this, they're going to be taking a couple of grad courses that are going to count as both kind of an undergrad credit and a grad credit. So the courses that it would impact on an undergraduate side would be Sport 465 and Sport 333. So instead, they're going to take 565 in the grad space and 510 in the grad space. So if you have students that are excelling and that maybe have talked to you about interest in pursuing a master's, this is something you can definitely encourage them to check out to try to help get them that master's degree a little bit quicker and save them some money in the process. The other thing is the internships. Obviously, sport being such a competitive field, it's something where having that real world experience and beginning to develop your professional network is integral to your success in the field. The internship with sport was always a little bit different than other internships. I believe the old requirements were 300 hours. Did anyone teach the internship section that's here?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, did it used to be 300?
Sure.
Yeah, I think it used to be 300 hours, which if you're talking in an 8-week course, it's pretty unrealistic to ask the students, in addition to possibly working full-time, to accumulate 300 hours of credits.
Well, it used to be 300, but divided into 2 terms.
Oh, it was split into 2.
300 hours, but in 2 terms. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll have to double check with Darren, I believe it has been redesigned to bring it to 150 hours. The 300-hour requirement was through an old accreditation that I don't believe is in use anymore. And so the sport internship now is in line with internships in other programs. So it's not as cumbersome to the students or the faculty that are leading those courses. And so it is 150 hours. And it's something that we want to really focus on promoting a little bit better to the students. Darren Heald, I'll send out his email address later. He's in charge of the internships, and he does a great job, and they're always looking for new opportunities for students. And so this is definitely something we want to integrate more into the classes on a regular basis. So those are kind of two big things that came out of the program reviews. This here, and again, we'll go through this relatively quickly. This is kind of the program. This is what students are taking. So I didn't list out all of the general education courses, but there are 45 credit hours that are required in the Gen Ed. The only requirement that we have that's a little bit different than the regular Gen Ed requirements is in the sport program, students must take microeconomics, macroeconomics, and applied statistics. Those are all part of that 45 credit hours for their Gen Ed requirements. Once they complete that, they'll move into their business core. And these are going to be, again, courses not within sport, but hopefully providing that solid business foundation that they can then apply to the sport classes. So you can see there's accounting, business law, finance, marketing, some human relations, strategic management, and operations management. So these courses aren't going to have a sport focus, but they provide that business core for the students so they have that good foundation. And then where we all fit in is in their major. And so all sport students are required to take 111, 201, 208, and 333. Unless we're talking the 4+1, and then we have those substitutions we talked about earlier. But the major courses are the Intro to Sport, Governance Management of Sport Organizations, Sport Marketing, and then Sport Society and Ethics. In addition, they can pick 6 credits within the major, and that includes sport law, sport sales, media, PR, and sport, facilities management, sport revenue, and licensing. And then in addition to that, they can take up to 27 total credits of free electives, and this can maybe help them get a minor in something or explore different interests that they may have that are relevant to their career interests. And so at the end of hopefully just 4 years, they have successfully completed 120 credits, and then they will graduate. That's kind of the gist of what I wanted to go over today. Like, I changed it from being a kickoff since this didn't happen until week 4. And I'm not used to the 8-week term, so that's going to be a little bit of an adjustment for me. I know at this point I was speaking to someone who has led some undergrad sections before, and hopefully now students are submitting their assignments on time. We're responsive to our outreach. If you have students that haven't been logging in since the beginning, and they're still in your course and they're not responsive to any of your outreach, then you can kind of save your energy and move on to the ones that you think will have a chance to re-engage with the course. If you ever have any questions in terms of reaching your students or advisors or anything like that, please don't hesitate to call me. I'm logged into Skype Business during the day. I believe you all have my cell phone, but I can share that again later. My home phone number, because we actually have a landline still and like it, is in my email signature, so you can always call that as well. It was a little fast going through everything, but does anyone have any questions or comments?
Yeah. Mike, is the internship going to be required for everybody, or are some students are still going to be able to waive it?
I'll have to double check with Darren. I believe my understanding is that it's required as for undergraduate students, but I will definitely need to double check. I don't want to give you a definitive answer and be wrong.
Okay.
But I know we definitely, if it's not required, we still want to really encourage students. And hopefully students are reaching out to you. Yes, who's that? Sorry. Did you have something you wanted to say, Ike? I couldn't hear you, sorry. Was it not on the slide? I wonder if that's an elective. No, it's not there. I just went back to it. I don't know if you can still see my screen. I pulled this from the old program review. I tried to get access to a newer one and wasn't able to find it. 350 it probably falls into a free elective. Because this isn't all of the sport courses that are offered. Which one is 350 again, Ike?
That was me, Ike.
What's the topic of 350? Is that that's sales?
No, no worries. Where does 350 fall into whether it's an
Okay.
required course or an elective?
Yeah, my guess is that falls into the free electives, but I'll double check that too in case this is changed since what I was given.
I didn't see it unless I missed it.
Any other questions or
Well,
comments?
sales and promotions is 319, isn't it?
It's sales and promotions. I think there's a separate sales course as well.
Oh,
Is that
okay.
what you're teaching this term, Mike?
Gotcha. Okay. Sales within sport.
Okay. Well, to my folks that joined me once we were going, any questions that you have for me or about Southern New
Yes.
Hampshire or the program? I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.